The UFC 309 just ended, and I have to say that this is probably my favorite card of the year, hands down. Not only did we have an amazing main event, but the co-main event included my favorite fighter, Charles Oliveira, and he fucking won. And even though I know that he got beat up bad in the 5th round, that's kind of what Oliveira does. He gets beat up a lot, but then he comes back. That's kind of like the Oliveira thing. It happened the last time he fought Michael Chandler, and also Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje. Not so much Justin Gaethje, but the last two. Hopefully we can see Charles Oliveira get another title run, even though Makhachev is just, it's a weird thing, you know? Makhachev is pretty good at what he does, so I don't know if Oliveira necessarily beats him, but it's a nice thought considering that he is my favorite fighter. Next to him being probably Dustin Poirier or Alex Pereira. You can switch them, but I'm here to talk about the fight, and I'm actually going to talk about the prelims first, which I haven't done in any of these videos because the prelims were pretty fire. We had some good knockouts and we had some good submissions. And there's a few new fighters who have kind of hit my radar with those prelims there, so I'm pretty excited to see those guys fight. It's fun to watch some of these guys in the prelims because they really do give it their all, trying to show the world that they deserve to be on the main card and make a lot of the pay-per-view money. So it is always fun to see all the knockouts and submissions that those guys have to offer. Now, I'm here to talk about Bo Nickel versus the other guy. I don't know the other guy's name, sorry. I know I've known about Bo Nickel for a while now, and you know, he didn't disappoint. You know, he had pretty much all the control in that fight. He got a decision win, but it was a unanimous decision win, just because he was dominating him. He wasn't nothing crazy on the ground, but he threw some very good punches, was working the legs a little bit, so I am excited to see more from Bo Nickel, and he is new. He's a new contender, so it'll be fun to watch him grow as a fighter as I continue to watch the UFC. Now for the co-main event, my favorite fighter, Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler 2. I knew that Charles Oliveira was going to win just because he's my favorite fighter. Why would you not want your favorite fighter to win, you know? So when he dominated him on the ground, standing, and on the mat, you know, it was pretty nice just to watch that. And I also had a group of friends with me, so I got to show them why I like Charles Oliveira so much. And even though Charles Oliveira did get, you know, beat up, as I said earlier, he did get beat up in that last round, he still was able to get out of it. He still was able to take the back of Michael Chandler. And, you know, Michael Chandler, he's basically a showman, you know. He's not, I don't think he's really in it for the title anymore, because when he got up and tried to slam Oliveira twice, you know, like he did in the first time they fought, you know, it was funny. But I don't think Michael Chandler has what it takes to really make it to the top. But, you know, he calls out Conor McGregor. I doubt Conor McGregor will be answering that because he hasn't for the last 4 years, I believe. So, you know, I don't know what Michael Chandler is going to be doing. You know, he's getting up there, you know, so he might even retire soon. If he doesn't fight McGregor, then he probably will retire. And if he does fight McGregor and beat him, he's definitely going to retire. So, you know, there's that. And also, nobody really likes Michael Chandler on the UFC side. I've seen interviews where fighters talk about him and they don't really like him, you know, but my GOAT, Charles Oliveira, he likes everybody. It's all about respect, and I'd like that fight a lot. And obviously, I was a little concerned when he was getting beat up, but he made it out of it, and he won by decision, yes, but, you know, at least he won by decision of a 5-round fight, rather than when he lost to some bullshit against Armand, you know? Armand does not deserve that title shot. Charles Oliveira beat him, but, you know, we all can't be fucking just so intelligent in this sport like I am, or other people who are like the commentators even, you know? Because in this fight, Joe Rogan says that he thought Charles Oliveira beat Armand the 2nd and 3rd round. So I really don't understand what the judges are doing, you know? I just think it's crazy. But, yeah, that's it for the co-main. But Charles Oliveira, my favorite fighter, and he won, so... On to the main event, Stipe versus Jon Jones. Going into it, I knew Jon Jones was going to win just because he's younger. He's weighs less than what he did when he fought Cyril Gane. You know, he was more in shape. So that obviously is a telltale sign that somebody's going to win. Stipe did hit him a few times, and there was a few moments where I was like, oh, wow, Stipe is landing, like, a good shot on him, you know? But the problem that Stipe had was he wasn't really rushing like he did in all of his other fights, you know. He was taking a punch and then hanging back, but range is kind of what John Jones does really well, and on the ground as well. John Jones does really well on the ground, so Stipe got beat up on the ground in the first round, but it was on feet for the next two, and Stipe, he got kicked in his liver, and I saw that, and I was like, oh, he's going down, and then he went down. Herb Dean called it off, which, you know, is probably good, just because, you know, he's an old man, and he retired as well. Stipe Miocic retired. But, you know, I think he is, or he was, the current oldest fighter in the UFC. So I think now that title goes to John Jones and Alex Pereira, who are 37, while he was 42. So he deserves a retirement, at least from MMA. He's still a firefighter, I believe, somewhere in Ohio, I believe. So all in all, you know, it was cool. Stipe, I didn't think was going to win that in any way, just because, you know, on the ground, John Jones is, you know, he's the GOAT, as everybody says. Me personally, I think if there's a topic where people have to discuss who's the GOAT, then it gets a little convoluted, because you can take somebody like Georges St-Pierre, who has just as good a record as John Jones. He's obviously not undefeated, but there's less controversy about him being the GOAT than there is John Jones. And also John Jones doesn't really want to fight Tom Aspinall, while Georges St-Pierre kind of, you know, he went around, you know. So, you know, John Jones, he's the heavyweight champion. Dodging the current interim heavyweight champion, it's not a good look, and it's not something that the fans were very happy about. But, you know, then he shouted out Jesus, which got the crowd back on his side, and then Donald Trump, which also got the crowd back on his side. But when Dana White brought up what's the next move, he was like, you know, all the crowd was screaming, because everybody was screaming Tom Aspinall, right? Like, we all knew what they were screaming. And then he said, let me take a moment to shout out Jesus Christ, which, that very lit, very real, like, you know, good on you. But he did also dodge the question of the Tom Aspinall thing. And then he got asked that again, and he said, whatever Dana White has for me in the future. So John Jones obviously doesn't want to say that he doesn't want to fight Tom Aspinall, but we can all tell that he was dodging that question, even though bringing up Jesus is, like, you know, it's cool. But also, he did dodge the question. But yeah, that was UFC 309, and honestly, it might be my favorite card of the year, just because it had my favorite fighter and also John Jones, you know, the legendary. But also Alex Pereira was badass, and UFC 300 is definitely a rival to this one, just because of the Max Holloway and Justin Gaethje thing, and also the Alex Pereira thing. So, you know, not to toot my own horn here or anything, but my friend said I would be good at commentating in the UFC. So maybe Dana White can give me a call. He can hook me up with an earpiece, and maybe I can be a commentator, you know? Just saying, I happen to know a lot about MMA and, you know, the moves that people do, and also what hurts and what doesn't, and techniques and shit like that. I'm just saying, sending out a job application that he'll never see, but there's potential. But that's about all I have to say. UFC 309 was very good. The next fight, UFC 3010, boring as shit. I'm going to skip it. Even though Shavkat's in there, you know, I like Shavkat. I would rather see him win the title than just fight some random dude, you know what I mean? So I'm not really interested in that. And yeah, see you guys at a different time.